Okay, welcome everyone to today's class. And today what we are doing is drawing the consumer equilibrium using difference curves and budget line. Our objective will be to synthesize the outcome from two aspects. One is difference curve for consumer preferences and budget line for the scarcity of resources, that the scarcity resources for the consumer. Okay, so these are two aspects that we are going to discuss, and then we will draw conclusion of how changes in the price or income change the nature of the consumer equilibrium and how the demand for X or Y product changes. So these are the objectives. So first of all, we'll define what is a consumer equilibrium. So a consumer equilibrium is a interaction between a indifference curve and is a point which is derived by the optimal consumer preferences and maximum budget utilization. So the graph will give us a point where the optimum preferences are selected and the maximum budget has been spent. It it tells us how much of X or Y product will be purchased by the consumer depending on the liking of these goods and the price and income of the products. So the decision to buy depends upon how he likes them and how much is the price of these goods and how much is the income of the customer. So this will define the nature of the consumption. So this is the topic that we are studying today. So before we jump on to the diagrams, so what I will do is I will discuss the basic flow chart. First of all, I will give you a brief overview here, and then we'll go towards the rules and procedures to draw the diagram. Okay, so let me bring up drawing. So we already discussed that these are for the case of the budget line. We have a y-axis, an x-axis, the y-axis, and the budget line is, we already discussed, it is negatively sloped. So we have quantity of x and y here. Okay, so it is negatively sloped because of the limitedness of the budget. And what are the reasons that limitedness of the budget? That's why it is negatively sloped. And what can change this graph? It can be changed because of prices. prices and income. So if the prices change, the graph will change, and if the income change, the graph will change. For the case of prices, it will rotate, and for the case of income, it will shift parallel. Okay, so this is the basic rules for the budget line. Okay, next is in difference curve. So we have y-axis and x-axis, and the difference curve is a line. Let me draw it a different color. It's a curve like this. X-axis is here, y-axis is there. We already know it is negatively sloped because we need to make sure it has each line has a constant budget. Each line has a constant utility. That's why it's negatively sloped. Other properties that we discussed were the higher the difference curve is better, and the lower one is not preferred. So how it can be shifted? It can be shifted because of it can be shifted because of the increase or decrease in budget line. So because there are infinite indifference curves, they do not change themselves. They are infinite. So we only select the different indifference curve if we have a different budget line. So the selection of the budget line depends. The selection of the indifference curve is depending upon the change in the budget line. So budget indifference curves are already there. So they don't shift or change. They change, and their nature depends upon the likeness of x and y. If they like both products are liked by the customer, they both are normal goods. Otherwise, one of them will be inferior. So secondly, it depends upon the substitutability. If the products are substitutes, it will be a straight line. If they are complements, it will be L-shaped. So these are a few properties that I will discuss in detail in the next page. So hopefully the basic concept is revised here, and they were discussed in detail in the previous classes. So let's continue and discuss the next point. Okay, so let me clear it up. So now we are going to draw the difference curves. Okay, so first of all, we'll define the steps. So what do I do is I will select higher right up and move it on a half of a page so that I have more space to write. Let me move it in the corner and move it. Okay, so we have a space to draw things that we need. Let me. Okay, that's fine now. Okay, first topic is that when we are drawing our consumer equilibrium graph, so first thing that we need to do is we need to know. First thing that we need to draw is the indifference curve. So you have to look at the statement of the question and define what type of indifference curve we need to draw. So if both products in the statement are complements, we'll draw a L-shaped graph. Okay, so let me draw the case here. So we have y-axis and x-axis. So there are two products on the graph, x and y. So if x, y are complements, we have a graph which is L-shaped. Let me draw with a straight line. So it will be L-shaped, and there will be infinite L-shaped graphs. Why? Because there are infinite combinations that are available. And what does meant by L-shaped graph? So L-shaped means that both products are consumed in a bundle. Means if it's X is a left shoe and Y is a right shoe, you always need equal pairs. So either you need one of each or two of each or three of each and so on. You don't want that you have two of the right shoe and one of the left shoe. It will not work. So for the case of complement goods, there is a specific combination that works. That's why the graphs are L-shaped. Okay. So I will now discuss the next one. If they are substitutes, okay. So if X and Y are substitutes, what we will do is it will be a straight line graph, just like a budget line. So because they are perfect substitutes, you can either buy X or Y. So straight line means there is no trade-off between change in trade-off. So take a straight line. So if they are substitutes, the budget line is straight. So they can either go in a corner or go in the middle or go in the other corner. Because both are substitute to each other, customer is indifferent, perfectly indifferent that he can select any one of them. Okay, so that's why they are straight line. Okay, so the third case that it discusses is that let me take a different color. Third case is that they are if X and Y are not substitute or complement. So what will happen? It will be standard indifference curve that we drawn in the graph class, and it will be like this curved line, and it will be parallel to each other. So these are three types of indifference curves. So you have to look in the statement and define what is the nature of the two goods. If they are if there is nothing written, then most probably it will be substitute, the third case, that no substitute, no complement. No substitute and no complement. That will be the green case. If there is it is written that they are complements, then it will be L shape. If it is written that it is substitutes, it will be a straight line. The other way can be that the name of the product might be written and you will guess from the name. For example, if I write that it is Pepsi and Coke, so both are substitutes. So it should be straight line. If I say left shoe and a right shoe, they are complements. So they should be L shaped. If I say mango and fish, they are not substitutes, not complements. So it should be bended line. So this way you first case is draw the relevant indifference curve. This will be the first step. Okay, the second step is you need to draw the budget line. So let me make some space here. Okay, so next step is you need to draw the budget line. So in this topic that we discussed today, or up till now we have only discussed one type of a budget line. Okay, we assume that you buy from the retail market, you are not buying from the wholesale market, or you are not a middleman. So your budget line is a straight line. Okay, so there's only one type for this course. So it's a straight line. So first step is you draw the indifference curve and then you draw a budget line. And you need to make sure, your important thing is that you need to make sure that the budget line is touching the already drawn difference curve only once. You have to draw it in a way that it is only touching the difference curve once. Means, in other words, we call it tangent. It should be tangent. So I will go do an example and so that you can understand it. So it will help you to draw the indifference curves. So this is the second step that is important. So these two will make the foundation. Okay. Now let's move forward. So let me clear the screen. So now we first the base is made. So I will draw the base case here. So let's assume that the products are not substitutes, not complements. It's a standard case. So what I will do is, first of all, I will label the graphs x-axis and y-axis. I will draw the difference curve, and there are infinite. So I will draw one so that the diagram is clean. Then I will draw the budget line. I will make sure that budget line is drawn in a way. I will put a scale here, and I will draw it in a way that it is touching only once, and then I will make sure that so I will call it. I will label this point E1. So this is equilibrium. So E1 is what? It is equilibrium before any change happened. Before any event. So this is the equilibrium. And in this equilibrium, what we know is that customer is selecting this much of y, that is y1, and he's selecting this much of x, that is x1. And this is the point E1, which is the equilibrium before the event which is discussed in the question. So when you draw this point, then we'll go towards studying the event. So let me clear it and let's go towards the discussion of the event. So from the statement, you have to look at the from the statement you have to look at what kind of change it is discussing. Okay, so let me clear some space. Okay, so first case can be that there is a change in, there is an increase in price. Okay, so statement could talk about that there is an increase in price of any product. So I will draw the both cases here. So we have y-axis, we have y-axis, we have x-axis. So the base budget line we already drawn here like this. Okay, and there was indifference curve that we already drawn. So I will make a dot and try to draw an indifference curve. So you have to draw indifference curve first so that you can draw it cleaner, and then draw the budget line so that your diagram is more clean. So here I'm trying to draw indifference curve after drawing the budget line, so it is not that clean. So that's why in the diagram I was talking that you have to draw the indifference curve first. So this is the base. So first is, so point 1 and point 2. First is that there is an increase in price of X. So what will happen? So let's change the color. And so in the red color, we are talking about this point 1. So there's an increase in price of X. What will happen? So if X is expensive, so price of so price of X increase will buy less of X because X is now expensive. So X will reduce. So we'll draw it here. So initially X was this much. Now it will be this much. So we'll draw a line from here to Y. So this is showing that, and we'll draw an arrow so that we don't get confused. So this is the diagram. So, and this means that when there is an increase in price of X, the budget line will rotate inward. Okay, so let's now talk about the second one. So what will happen if there is increase in price of y. So definitely when the price of y increase, so y will decrease. So now we'll draw that point. So here in this case, y will decrease. So we'll start from same point of x and reduce the y, and we'll draw an arrow so that we can remember that y has so y has been reduced. So the arrow will remind us that the which one is the newer line and which one is the older. So make sure that you remember which budget line is old and which one is new. So what I usually do is I will write with old one, I will write BL1, with new I will write BL2, or I draw an arrow so that I remember which one is the old one and which one is the new one, so that you can have proper interpretation. This is IC1 and this is BL1 and this is BL2. Otherwise, in an exam, I usually use two pen, blue and black, so that I draw the blue with first base with different color and the new one with different, just like I'm doing it here. So this is the case for price increase. Now let's talk about price decrease. So let's draw the graphs here again. So we have y-axis, x-axis, y-axis, and x-axis. We already have the indifference curve, so I'm drawing the indifference curve first so that this time they are neat. Now I will draw the budget lines. We'll try to make sure it is touching only once. So since it is touching once, so we call it tangent. So I'll draw it here again, and I will make sure it is touching only once. So these are 2 points. So first of all, I will do is I will label it. So this is E1 in both cases. E1, E1. This is X. This is Y, Y, X. So this is IC1, IC1. This is BL1, BL1. Now we are drawing the case of if the statement says that price of X is decreasing. So what will happen? So price of X decrease, X will increase. So we'll draw a new point outside. We take a straight line. So I will join it. So I will draw an arrow so that I can remember that it is going out. So this new point is BL2. Similarly, if price of let me take a different color. Similarly, if price of Y decrease, so PY decrease, so Y will increase. Okay, so what will happen? There will be a bigger point, and I will draw it from here to here, and the arrow will show like this. So there is an increase in Y. So the price decrease case and the price increase case. So hopefully you understood this up till this point. If you have any queries, you can write in the chat, and then I will try to answer them while I'm discussing it, or I will add it up in the next session. So please write the questions in the chat if you have any questions. So let me move to a new point. So this way we did the third step. That for in the first step we worked on. Let me go to a clearer page. So last is what about the income? So let me draw the income case before I move into the next page. Okay. So I will draw the case of income. So we have difference curve, x-axis, y-axis, and x-axis. Let me label it x, x, y, y. We have the difference curve. Now we draw the budget line. Draw the budget line here. Okay, so let me make a dot so that I can remember this one is the point. So what will happen if there is an increase in income? So let me draw with that. So let there's a question that I will commit right now. So first question is that there is an increase in income. So what will happen if there is an increase in income? Customer will buy more of X and more of Y. So both products should be increased because there is an increase in income. So the new budget line should be parallel outside. So first of all, I will draw it here. So it is parallel outward. So one question came here is that the new budget line is touching the old indifference curve twice. Okay, let me label it first. So this is BL2 and this is IC1, IC1. So definitely if the new budget line is touching the indifference curve twice, it means now there's a time for the customer to climb onto a new indifference curve. This will be discussed in point number 4, step number 4. We are only talking about the step number 3. So in the last step, we'll talk about that how the new indifference curve will be drawn. So there's an increase in income here. We'll draw an arrow to show that customer has moved outward. Similarly, in the last point, let me take a different color. So last point, there is a decrease in income. Okay, so what will happen if there is a decrease in income? He will buy less of X and less of Y because total income has been reduced. So what will happen? There will be a new budget line which is lower than the old one. If I draw arrows, it will confirm that it is going inward. But I should make sure I should label it BL2 and the old label is BL1 IC1. So up till now what we have discussed is, let me save it and then discuss here. So up till now we have discussed two things. First, make the base case using IC and BL. Okay, this was done. Then in the second step, we discussed the effect of price or income by changing the budget line. Now the third step we need to discuss is, the third step we need to discuss is what will be the new indifference curve, what will be, where it will be, how to find that point. So in the third step, now we are going to the next slide, next page to talk about the last step. Hopefully after that it will be clear regarding how to do it. So the last step we are talking about moving the indifference curve. Okay, so let me make an example here and move some space. Okay, so we'll discuss this point first, then the next one. So here I will draw the initial case. Okay, first case is here. I'll try to draw it bigger so that you can see it cleanly. So we have, first of all, we have an indifference curve. It should be clean like this, and there is a budget line which is touching only once. Well, you have to use the scale so that you make sure that it is touching once, then draw it so that it is clean. So this point is E1, this is IC1, BL1, IC1, BL1, this is x-axis or x product, and this is y product. So this way we draw the base case. Now what I will do is, in the first diagram I will talk about the one example of income and I will talk about one example of price, and all other will be covered similar way. So let me take a different color. Suppose there is an increase in income. So I will talk about increase in income case. So what will happen? We already discussed. There will be a new difference budget line which is outward. I will draw with it, make an arrow here so that I can remember. Then I will write its name. Try to use the same color so that I can remember. Since now I will discuss it here. Since the customer has higher income, he is now touching the old indifference curve twice. It means the old indifference curve is not the best possible. It means there is a room to climb onto our newer indifference curve, which is bended inward. So where he should go. So if both products are normal, means none of them is inferior. What will happen? The new indifference curve will be parallel. So the higher indifference curve should be parallel to the old one. So the best way to find the parallel point is what I do is I put a scale and draw rough dots which are a 45-degree. Just rather than making dots, I just make sure that the next dot is somewhere here. Okay, so this will let me understand that the next E2 should be touching here. So then I will draw the indifference curve. I try to make sure that the indifference curve is touching this point. So I will draw it from here. Draw it again. So this indifference curve IC2 is parallel to the old one, and this new dot is E2. So you don't need to draw these dots, but just put a scale and take it 45 degrees and put a dot here and try to draw a neat indifference curve that is touching only once. So the outcome that is shown here is, let me take a black color. So outcome is that initially we were buying Y1 and X1 because of increase in income. What we are doing now is this is Y2 and this is X2. So this way you make two indifference curves because I now let me label it. So IC1 is before event and IC2 is after event. Event is the change in budget line. That is because of change in price or change in income. So here we can see that because of the increase in income, Y has increased and X has increased. So I will include below it that since products are normal, increase in income has increased both X and Y. So my graph is telling me that both of them has increased, and this is because both are normal. So similarly, let me draw the other case. Suppose let me take a different color. Suppose price of the product is decreased and it is price of X. Okay, so price of X is decreased. So what will happen? The budget line will go outward from the X side. We extend that line too. So budget line is gone outward. And since we already know the products are normal, so what I'll do is I will go here and make sure that 45-degree dot should be somewhere here. 45-degree dot. And then I will draw a new budget line, new indifference curve, which is touching only once and parallel to the old one. It should touch only once to the new budget line, BL2, and it should be parallel to old indifference curve. So what will happen now is this is my E2. Now I will label it so with black color. So initially this was X1, Y1. This is X2 and Y2. So what has happened is that because of decrease in price of X, Y has increased and X has increased. So I will write it here. So Since both are normal, a decrease in price of X has increased X and Y both. So why it has increased Y? Because it is understandable that it has increased X because X was cheaper. So it has increased Y because so when the customer has increased when X is cheaper, he will not buy everything from X. He will leave some of the income to buy more of Y. So it means that when a price decreases, it reduces, let me clear it up, pressure on both goods. So he can save some of the money from X to buy Y. So that's why Y has increased. So this is the case when the products are normal. So you have to draw this like this. So after this activity, what I'll do is I will give you some questions so that you can draw. So let's clear the drawing. Let's go to the next case, which is a little bit tricky when one of them is inferior. Okay. So what it is talking about that in the question, sometime it will be given that which type of good is inferior and which one is not. So let me move it to the top of the page. Go like this. So let me here. Yes. So if one of them is inferior, so let me draw the case. So this is y-axis, and this is both have x-axis and y-axis. So this is x, y. So now I'll draw the indifference curve first. Suppose indifference curves are going outward. Okay, so the case is that there is a decrease in price of X or decrease in price of Y or increase in income. In all cases, IC goes out. So I'm drawing to this case. Suppose in this example, X is inferior and in this example, Y is inferior. So what will happen? So when you are drawing the new difference curve, rather than making it parallel, you have to make sure that it is away from the inferior product. So let's draw a budget line here. So let's see in color. So this was the initial budget line and there is an increase in income. So the new budget line is outward. So in the previous case, what we did was I gave you an idea that it should be somewhere here if the both products are normal. But I found out that the X is inferior, so the new difference should be away from X. So I will draw somewhere here, any point left of away from X. So I will draw a difference curve like this. So you can notice that the distance between this is bigger as compared to this. So what is happening here is that when one product is inferior, the increasing IC goes away from it. Okay, so similarly what I will do is I will draw the case for the Y. So let me select a line. So this was the budget line. This time I rather than draw the price, let me go with the price again. So there is an increase in I will go with the income. So there is an increase in income. Now logically previously we were talking about that it should be somewhere here. This is the 45-degree line. It should be somewhere here. But since Y is inferior, you will draw it somewhere here, at little bit on the right side. So we'll draw the difference curve like this. So you can notice that the distance is higher here and smaller here. So what it is showing us that when you are going outward, the customer is preferring the good product, not the bad product. Okay. So this is the concept. So let me draw the last case, which is opposite to this one. Let me bring it back. Okay. So in the last case, I will erase the diagram here. Okay. In the last case, what we are doing is that we are going inward. So let me draw the indifference curve first. So it is, this is the IC1, and the budget lines were touching it only once. So it will be written in the statement that the product is inferior, or you will know it by its name. So that if I write second hand mobile phone, so definitely it will be inferior. So you have to see the statement that it might be written that X is inferior or Y is inferior, or it will be written as second hand shoes, or non-branded item. So you will notice from that point that the product is not, it is inferior. Okay, hopefully that will help you to understand, clarify if the product is normal or not. So what will happen is, so let me, so suppose there is a decrease in income. Okay, so decrease in income means the budget line will go inward, and indifference curve will also go inward. So in this case, the logic will be opposite. So if they are both normal, the budget line should, but indifference curve should come here on the parallel 45-degree line. But since X is inferior, and in this case income is decreasing, so customer is becoming poor. In this case, income is decreasing, customer is becoming poor. So when he's becoming poor, he will go towards the inferior goods because they are cheaper. So when they are going out, it will go away. When they are coming in, it will go near. So I will draw a nearer one. Let me clear it up. So it will be near. Okay, so this way what it is actually showing is that if you look at it going out, it is going left. When it is coming in, it is going right. So it is coming near. So I see two. So it is preferring the inferior good when they are becoming poor. So I will draw it somewhere here. I see two. So this is the logic for the inferior goods, that you need to make sure when you're going out. So let me clear and let's write it. So, so what we concluded here is that if any one of them is inferior, if both of them are inferior, they both work like normal goods. So the question of both inferior will never come. It has some other complexities, but for your syllabus or for the level of basic economics, and both inferior will never come. Okay? So if any one of them is inferior and there is expansion of resources, how they expand, it is because of decrease in price or increase in income. What will happen? The new indifference curve will be located outward as compared to old one, but it will be away from the inferior axis, so that it represents, so so it will represent the preferences of the customer, that he do not like inferior goods. He was only buying them as them when he was poor. Okay, so this is the logic behind going outward. Similarly, opposite is the logic when it is coming inward. Hope the concept is clear for you. Now what I will do is I will solve you one question. Let me share it up, and then let's see, hope you can draw the other examples. So this is a question that I'm going to draw today. So before starting the statement, you notice the what is the type of statement. The statement is that you have to draw consumer equilibrium graph for the following cases. So the case one is when there's an increase in price of Y. So the statement given is that price of Y has increased and X and Y are complements. X, Y complements. Okay, and it has not talked about any inferior, so it means they are neither inferior nor so they are both normal. So normal. So these three things are clarified from this statement. Okay, so now let's start. So I already remembered that first we do is we draw BL1, then second step is we draw IC1. Then for if you want to draw neat diagrams, then IC2, then 1V is BL2. So this is the step. So let's draw the diagram. So in the previous activity, I did BL2 first because BL2 gives you the logic of way to draw IC2. But if you remember the concept, then draw IC2 first. It will make sure that your diagram is clean. So now we have this is x-axis, this is y-axis. We have a indifference curve. So let me change the order again. So you have to draw IC1, then BL1. So IC1. If you draw indifference curve first, they look more cleaner and more smoother. Otherwise, it will look like they are drawn by force, and it's not neat. So this is our BL1. This is the E1 point. Okay, so now we have noticed that the price of Y has increased. So definitely product Y will decrease. So one thing I have did wrong is that since the products are complements, the indifference curve is not like this. So let me clear the diagram again. So since the products are complements, so it will be L-shaped difference curve. You draw L shape any point anywhere in the graph. So I see one, and the budget line will be touching it only once, like this. So it is touching once, and definitely it will touch at the corner, because if you try to touch it somewhere else, it will not touch once because it will cross the other line too. So this is BL1. Now we already noticed that the price of Y is increasing, so definitely Y will decrease. So it means the resources are decreasing. So the new difference curve should be below the old one in parallel position. So what I do is I notice that it will be below, so I will draw a new difference curve somewhere here. So it will be parallel. So we'll draw a parallel case, and I have to label it IC2. Then I will draw a budget line and try to make sure that it starts from the old point of X and it is touching once and ending at Y. So what has happened is this is E2 and the old one was black E1. So now I will join the dots using a different color so that it is observable. So in the old case, this was X1, Y1, and in the new case, this is X2, Y2. So we have noticed that we have noticed that because of decrease in price of Y and the both products are complements, and because that's why it's L-shaped, and because it's normal, so the new difference curve is parallel. There's a decrease in X and there's a decrease in Y. So I will write its interpretation as when there is the increase in price of y and x and y are complements, it will reduce the, the demand or consumption of x and y. So if you have any question here, you can write in the chat. So this way you will draw the indifference curves. Hopefully it is clear for you. What now you have to do is that as an activity, let me clear it up. So as an activity, you have to draw these 5 cases, these 6 cases. We will study this one later on. So you have to draw these 6 cases. So so the logic is, let me summarize it again. The logic here is that in the procedure that I showed you in the Word file, you have to draw the in the same procedure. So you can open the Word file again. So you have to draw the indifference curve first and the budget line one. Then you have to guess from the budget the statement that it is going down or going up. If there is a decrease in prices and increase in income, it is going up. So new IC2 should be outside. If it is increased prices and decrease in income, it is down. So the new indifference curve should be inward. And then you draw the BL2. From this, you do the interpretation for that event. So the event is this. You do interpret and tell what will happen to X and Y. So this is the outcome. So what I will do is, so hopefully it is understandable for you.